It's all about relationship building, and we do it on every level of everything that we do.
JCRC is the connector to take the Jewish community, all other faith-based communities, the broader New York City, New York State community, and bring everyone together.
I think the Jewish community should be very proud to have a group such as the JCRC.
The JCRC is the umbrella organization in New York for the organized Jewish community to protect and defend the presence of the community and its future.
JCRC provides opportunities for Jews of different stripes from different communities, different backgrounds with different philosophies to be able to meet one another and understand one another better, which is always a good thing.
JCRC is a conduit to not only reach into the Jewish community, but also to reach other communities. We are working together, and we have to continue to do that.
JCRC is really the convening organization for leadership in New York City. And I think the more time that people put in with JCRC, the more they get out.
YouthBridge is an extraordinary program which brings high school juniors and seniors together, and they celebrate diversity and they learn to work with one another despite their differences.
We Are All New York is our development and networking program for nonprofits, faith, government, and community leaders from diverse backgrounds. We are training the future leaders of New York City.
The JCRC helped me become who I am today in my public service career and helped shape my thinking on how to organize our people.
It has been a pleasure to see thousands of people to be brought out by JCRC and uniting the whole Jewish community under that Celebrate Israel parade.
Nothing can stop New York's Jewish community from showing its love and support of the State of Israel. On behalf of the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 Celebrate Israel Parade.
UJ Federation of New York is incredibly proud to support the JCRC's work, including its missions to Israel. These missions take political and elected officials, non-Jewish religious and ethnic leaders.
When I meet leaders in New York, they tell me that the mission to Israel that we're part of with JCRC changed completely their perspective of Israel. They became Israel advocates.
I think the Faculty Engagement Initiative of the JCRC brought a new insight into the way I think about the country, into the way I see Israel in the Middle East, and to the way I impart that to the graduate students and the professionals that I'm teaching.
The Congressional Breakfast is an annual event. In fact, it's our signature event. And we invite the downstate congressional delegation to come to this event and to address those in attendance.
The Community Security Initiative, or CSI, was formed at the end of 2019 in response to terrorist attacks against Jewish institutions.
The pandemic forced CSI to really pivot into some new spaces. The first was really health security. Even though all of the institutions that we worked with were closed, we ultimately had to plan for their reopening.
We've been able to provide assistance to others on being prepared for any emergency. We serve as the unofficial liaison to the New York Police Department, to the FBI, and other law enforcement agencies.
We could get recommendations from NYPD to make facilities more secure, but seeing what grants were available and give us guidance, the JCRC was invaluable.
The more we work together, the more we communicate with each other, the better off we will all be. And what makes JCRC so unique and so special is that we do the work to bring people together with a love and a devotion that is unsurpassed. In today's world, JCRC's mission of uniting communities is more relevant and essential than ever before.
Good evening. It's your friend Cheryl Wills from Spectrum News, New York 1, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York's 2020 Virtual Winter Benefit. I'm thrilled to be part of this very special evening celebrating JCRC's mission of uniting and securing communities and paying tribute to 4 exceptional individuals: the Admiral David Robinson and his business partner at Admiral Capital Group, Daniel Bassicus, and Sam Schwartz from Sam Schwartz Transportation Consultants, and his son David from Slate Property Group. They are all true leaders dedicated to family, faith, and community, and the concept of giving back. Now, I personally really am a huge fan of JCRC and its commitment to building relationships with all ethnic and faith groups in New York, my hometown. The diverse fabric of our society is stronger and more beautiful thanks to JCRC and its officers, board of directors, and staff. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize all our benefit chairs, vice chairs, co-chairs, sponsors, and guests. You should be proud to support such an extraordinary organization. On a personal level, I truly feel honored to be considered part of the JCRC family. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first guest, Acting Consul General of Israel in New York, Israel Nitzan. Since he arrived in New York in 2012, he's become a very dear friend, first serving at the permanent mission of Israel to the United Nations before shifting to the consulate. Similar to JCRC's mission, Acting Consul General Nitzan represents the consulate's dedication to building bridges with Americans of all backgrounds. I can personally attest to this commitment as the proud recipient of the 2017 Martin Luther King Jr. Award by the Consulate, JCRC, and the Jewish National Fund. I cherish this award, I really do. As Acting Consul General of Israel in New York, he represents the state of Israel to communities throughout New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Ohio. JCRC has partnered with the consulate on many initiatives, reaffirming the strong bond between Israel and New York, including its well-known Israel missions for community leaders and the Celebrate Israel Parade, which will take place next June, whether it's virtual or, we all hope, in person. It's now my honor to welcome Acting Consul General Israel Nitzan to bring greetings from the State of Israel.
Thank you, Cheryl, for that introduction and for your friendship over the years. We are all aware of your many accomplishments as a news anchor, an author, and a TV host. But it is your heartfelt inspiration and steadfast integrity that we value the most, and which is why we were so proud to add you to our distinguished list of MLK Award recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, I'm delighted to join you here this evening to celebrate the many accomplishments of the JCRC and to pay tribute to tonight's honorees. The Admiral Group's David Robinson and Daniel Bassicus, and Sam and David Schwartz, who have all dedicated themselves to building a stronger community. The JCRC knows the value of building bridges and of reaching out to others, those within the Jewish community and especially those who differ in culture, religion, and race. Only by embracing our differences can we truly understand one another and find that we have much more in common than we think. Through various programs such as Youth Bridge, We Are All New York, the Faculty Engagement Program, and CSI, the Community Security Initiative, the JCRC brings together people of all ages, professionals, and backgrounds in order to share experiences, forge relationships, and help each other in creating a better and safer community. For me personally, the JCRC-led missions to Israel are invaluable. These missions have provided numerous individuals, including educators, elected officials, and business leaders, the opportunity to experience firsthand life in Israel. Seeing how Israel is strengthened by the diversity of its people and the challenges they face together, through good times and bad, can only lead to a better understanding of the nation I call home. I'm sure that many of you, I hope all of you, share in the excitement of the new relationships Israel has formally established in the Middle East. Israel will continue to work towards building new partnerships in the region, and we are grateful to JCRC for all its continued support as we seek peace with our neighbors. I know that the work of the JCRC is never ending. I also know that under the leadership of Cheryl Fishbein as president, Rabbi Michael Miller as executive vice president and CEO, and the outstanding members of the JCRC staff, our friends will multiply and we will all reap the rewards. Thank you and have a wonderful event.
Thank you so much, Acting Consul General Nitzan. As the Acting Consul General knows, as well as anyone, security is a crucial issue for all communities. Since its inception, JCRC has played an essential role in securing and protecting New York's Jewish community, serving as a liaison to law enforcement and providing security assessments to Jewish institutions. After the heinous massacres at the synagogues in Pittsburgh and Poway, along with the disturbing uptick in anti-Semitic hate crimes and assaults in the New York area last year, including Jersey City and Monsey, JCRC's partner and benefactor, UJA Federation, realized that the Jewish community's security efforts needed to be greatly expanded. Together, UJA Federation and JCRC launched the Community Security Initiative known as CSI almost a year ago. I am pleased to present the premiere of the CSI video produced by Letter 7.
JCRC is an umbrella organization, a coordinating body for 50 or so Jewish organizations in the New York metropolitan area. And our mission is to proactively advocate and ensure the rights, the interests, and the values of the New York Jewish community.
JCRC does a lot of things that no organization does. If you call us the home of Jewish community relations, this is where it's happening.
I've been doing this for close to 4 decades, working in the security realm for the Jewish community. It started out pretty simple, that the security issues that the Jewish community was facing were basically what we called in the olden days bias incidents. We now call them hate crimes.
Jewish community after a mass murderer opened fire on a synagogue in Pittsburgh.
A gunman burst into a synagogue in California and used a semi-automatic rifle to gun down worshipers.
Breaking news emerging overnight about the mass shooting in New Jersey. The mayor of Jersey City said a Jewish market was intentionally targeted in the attack.
A man, witnesses say, stormed through the front door, unveiled a long knife, and began swinging it and stabbing those celebrating the 7th night of Hanukkah.
Police here in New York are increasing their presence in neighborhoods with large Jewish populations following a series of anti-Semitic attacks. It comes as Jewish people celebrated Hanukkah and as civil rights groups are noting...
We have been for many years the Homeland Security for the Jewish community in the New York metropolitan area.
And as time went on, the security challenges to the Jewish community expanded. The UJA Federation stepped up, formed a partnership with JCRC, and created the Community Security Initiative, which is a joint program between UJA Federation and the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York.
It was important to create a broader infrastructure to support Jewish community around the issue of security. The obvious place to speak to and to plan with was JCRC, and we together conceived the idea for a significantly enhanced security infrastructure to support Jewish communities in New York.
The reason we decided to partner with UJA and JCRC in forming CSI was that they really own the relationships with law enforcement, with civic and ethnic and religious leaders in New York, and we felt like the best thing we could do was to work with people who have the deepest relationships to make sure that Jews in the city and beyond are as safe as they possibly can be.
couldn't be more important to us in the NYPD, the safety of all New Yorkers. And we have the largest hate crimes task force in the country, but anytime we have an incident like we saw last year, it's deeply troubling.
There is an ongoing threat. I think anti-Semitism probably never been higher, and JCRC is an important element in helping the police protect the Jewish world. The Community Security Initiative is, I think, a great idea, and it's now being led by Mitchell Silber, someone who I work very closely with, a top flight professional. I know he'll do a great job.
The NYPD, Nassau and Suffolk, police departments, all of the police departments in Westchester, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, we're working with all of these agencies in close partnership because we want to be that connective tissue to make sure that every institution is really lashed up well with their local police precinct or police department in their area.
It's necessary to have a resource that the community can turn to for advice, for best practices, for training, navigating government funding, for security grants, and to be able to house that resource in a single place that can be a place that any institution in need knows to call is particularly critical at this moment.
The first step is to figure out what are the vulnerabilities of this institution and how could the vulnerabilities open the door for a threat to get in. And what we've done is given the institutions the ability to upgrade their security, to harden themselves as a target. We have to be able to teach each synagogue, each community center, each school our best practices. And at the same time, not interfering with people's religious life, everyday social life, everyday cultural life.
The Community Security Initiative has helped educate and sensitize the congregation not only to the needs here at the Hampton Synagogue, but to the needs of all Jewish and religious institutions.
And without JCRC, I don't think I would feel that comfortable, I don't think the rabbi would feel that comfortable, and I don't think our congregants would feel that comfortable.
When COVID-19 hit, Jewish communities all throughout the New York City area were faced with the challenge of their synagogues closing, their schools closing, JCCs shuttering, and over a period of time, CSI considered how will these organizations ultimately think about reopening.
We've tried to figure out what we could do given the lockdown, how we could continue to provide services. So we took our team, we put together a guide for reopening for synagogues, which expanded to houses of worship because what we were telling synagogues to do were good for churches and mosques and Hindu temples and anything else.
We've put together what I believe is a dream team of 5 regional security managers, each one responsible for part of the territory that we oversee, from, as I like to say, from Montauk all the way up to Mount Kisco.
When I think about JCRC and how they've helped me, I feel relieved. And by having a great network and a network creator like JCRC is huge.
Physical security is a critical ingredient to the flourishing of Jewish life in our community. If you're not safe coming into our institutions, you're not going to go into them, and the consequences for Jewish life going forward are dramatic. This initiative will allow Jewish life to continue to grow and flourish for generations to come in New York.
I would thank JCRC for just being there. Always been there for the police department. I like to think the department has been there for JCRC.
As great as your engagement programming is, no matter how many people you have walking through the door, that the members of your community feel safe. JCRC has a track record of doing that work better than anyone, and we're very proud to help them do it.
And we are so fortunate here in New York that we have the JCRC. I can't think of a better organization to partner with our synagogue, with UJ Federation, and JCRC to tackle and look at the problem of security.
From the ground level to the highest levels of government, JCRC will be relentless in its pursuit of security for the New York Jewish community.
Well, as you just saw in the video, JCRC is privileged to work hand in hand with UJA Federation on many initiatives. As a proud partner agency, JCRC is also grateful to be the recipient of UJA's generous support. UJA has an incomparable team led by top professionals and lay leaders, including its president, Amy Bressman. Amy has had many leadership positions at UJA, as well as other organizations, and she's also had a career at IBM in marketing. Please welcome a great leader and friend, Amy Bressman.
Thank you, Cheryl. I am so happy to be with you at this very special event to celebrate JCRC's vital work in our community. We find ourselves living in a very complex world, confronted by polarization, anti-Semitism, racial inequality, and of course, the relentless effects of the pandemic. I am proud to say that the relationship between UJA and JCRC couldn't be stronger. JCRC is our boots on the ground. JCRC's relationships and expertise are critical tools to address the challenges that our Jewish community and larger community are facing. Because of JCRC's connection, we are able to build bridges across all segments of our New York community and work together to fight against hate in all its forms. Who can believe now that it was less than a year ago when we stood shoulder to shoulder on the Brooklyn Bridge at the No Hate, No Fear rally, fighting the winds of anti-Semitism. Then, as the video you just saw illustrated, we did not stand idly by. We worked together to launch the Community Security Initiative to protect our local institutions across the boroughs, Westchester, and Long Island. Our community also benefits tremendously from your ability to coordinate between law enforcement and Jewish institutions. And in partnership with the Margaret and Dan Loeb Foundation, we are also bringing together synagogues and other Jewish groups to advocate for criminal justice reform through the recently launched Jewish Criminal Justice Coalition. As president of UJA, I feel so proud that our work together is getting things done. I want to add my congratulations to tonight's honorees, David Robinson and his business partner Daniel Basicus, who are receiving the Bridge to Justice Award, and Sam Schwartz and his son David Schwartz, who are receiving the Generation to Generation Award. And in closing, I want to say to Michael Miller, Cheryl Fishbein, the JCRC board members, and the JCRC professional staff, how much we at UJA appreciate all that you do.
Hey, thanks so much for that, Amy. And from one leader to another, I now have the honor of introducing my dear friend and namesake, if I may say so, Cheryl Fishbein. She's the president, of course, of JCRC. Cheryl works tirelessly on behalf of JCRC, as she has done for so many other Jewish organizations throughout her long history of voluntary service to the community. When Cheryl invited me to host tonight's event, I accepted with tremendous pleasure, and it was truly an honor because of my tremendous respect for JCRC. So please welcome my pal, Cheryl Fishbein.
Thank you, Cheryl. I am thrilled that you are our event host this evening. The JCRC and I treasure our friendship. When I took over the reins as JCRC president from my predecessor, Charlie Temmel, more than 1 year ago, I could never have imagined the issues that we would face as Jews, as New Yorkers, and as Americans. I could not be more proud of our lay leadership and professional staff led by CEO Michael Miller for how expertly they have navigated the challenges of our New York Jewish and total communities and what we have encountered these last few months. From anti-Semitic attacks to the pandemic to social injustice, we have risen to each occasion, providing invaluable resources, support, guidance, and advice. Some examples of our activities are featured in our sizzle reel, which you may have seen before tonight's program began, and can also be viewed on our website. Most recently, our team worked hard behind the scenes to respond to the increased rate of COVID-19 in ultra-Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods, utilizing both our extensive network of deep and warm relationships with key leaders in these communities and with elected officials. New York State's leading elected official is our governor, Andrew Cuomo, and he sent a letter with his warmest personal congratulations to JCRC and our honorees. Governor Cuomo commends everyone affiliated with JCRC for our commitment to building partnerships and strengthening communities here in New York. We thank Governor Cuomo for his friendship and confidence in JCRC's ability to continue to meet each challenge head on. The generous support from all of you will help ensure that we fulfill our mission of uniting and securing communities. And it is now time to begin our award presentations. First, to present the Generation to Generation Award to Sam Schwartz and his son David Schwartz, it is my pleasure to introduce Jeff Levine. Jeff is a longtime JCRC New York board member and a co-chair of tonight's event. He and his son Ben received the JCRC New York Generation to Generation Award in 2010. Jeff is the chairman of Douglaston Development LLC, Levine Builders and Clinton Management LLC, and is a community leader both literally and figuratively. In addition to serving on numerous real estate industry-related organizations, he served as president of the Jewish National Fund and is a member of its National Board of Trustees and National Board of Directors. Please welcome our good friend Jeff Levine and his friends and our honorees, David and Sam Schwartz.
I'm thrilled to have the opportunity today to introduce my friends, Sam and David Schwartz, for the Door of a Door Award, the Generation to Generation Award of the Jewish Community Relations Council. Sam Schwartz is the CEO of Sam Schwartz Transportation Consultants, a firm that specializes in transportation planning and engineering. He also writes a column for the New York Daily News. Previously, Sam was New York City's traffic commissioner and was chief engineer of the New York City Department of Transportation. I believe that's when I first met Sam. He started his transportation career in the late 1960s as a New York City cabbie, as was my father, and joined the traffic department as a junior engineer in 1971. Sam is often referred to by his nom de plume, Gridlock Sam. He released those words, gridlock, into the lexicon in the 1980s during the New York City transit strike. Sam has been an adjunct professor for 40 years at some of New York's most respected colleges and universities. He's an active in community affairs and is a board member of the Regional Plan Association and a fellow of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. I now have the privilege of reading a short bio because obviously after Sam's bio, we take a lot of air out of the room. And David, you've got a tough act to follow, but David Schwartz is a co-founder and principal of Slate Property Group. He has over 17 years of experience in buying, developing, and operating real estate across the United States. Prior to the Slate Property Group, David co-founded 2 New York-based development firms and was responsible for the development of over 1,000 units throughout the New York City area, representing over 750,000 square feet. Prior to founding his own development firm, David worked for Crescent Heights of America, Lux Capital, and JP Morgan. David received his BS in finance from Syracuse University, and David currently serves on the board of the Furman Center at New York University, the Citizens Housing and Planning Council, and the New York State Association for Affordable Housing, as well as the Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University and Horizons at Brooklyn Friends School in Brooklyn. I'm proud to serve on a number of those boards, mostly associated with the affordable housing industry here in New York, where David has made quite a scene, and I am sure he has made his father, Gridlock Sam, very proud. But while I have the opportunity to quiz you, Sam, you came out in New York at a time when the transit strike occurred and New York City was in somewhat dire straits and made a name for yourself, as David is doing today. I'll ask you what similarities you see between those difficult days of the middle to late 70s, Sam, and what you see in our New York City environment today.
Okay, well, my first and clearest memory of the mid-1970s was the birth of David in 1977. We bought a house in 1976 in Flatbush, Brooklyn. We were committed New Yorkers. We wanted to invest in New York, even though all the media and others were saying New York is broke, New York is going down the tubes. What happens to New York is it's cyclical. In the 1970s, it looked dire to a lot of people. To my wife and myself, it looked like an opportunity. But the similarities were that people were pessimistic about New York then, but New York showed that it is resilient every single time. It showed that again after 9/11, after Sandy, and it will show it again after the COVID virus.
Very good. I think that's a great message for everybody today to talk about the resiliency and the inherent strength of this New York City market. Now, David, you, I see, might have gotten your development streak from your father, who was willing to invest in a home in Brooklyn back in the mid-70s when there was an exodus. So you, as I have been following your career, have been very active, not only in the market rate, but in the affordable housing business, which is an area that I too have found to be a wonderful place to build and to house people who desperately need housing. What do you see as to the future of affordable housing here in New York?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I think, what we're seeing in New York is that the need for affordable housing is greater than ever. Even before COVID, but now with COVID, people cannot find places to live. People like my parents, my dad worked for the city and my mother was a social worker. And those are the folks that are getting priced out. It's not only at the low income, it's at the middle income and even higher income. So I think what we need to do is, we're going to need to reinvest, a lot more than we even have ever thought to build housing for the poor, build housing for the middle class, and to make sure that we make and keep New York as the great place that it is.
Thank you. And I know that you have made a strong commitment there. I've been working with a number of wonderful community-based not-for-profits to help make that happen. Speaking of community-based not-for-profits, we are now at that point where we are going to talk about the Jewish Community Relations Council. We all know what a wonderful job the JCRC has done to make our Jewish presence felt and share our presence in a positive way with our fellow New Yorkers. We can't say enough. And in this gala, which we celebrate every year, we have a Generation to Generation Award, the door of a door, as we say in Temple. I cannot be any more proud than at this moment to present the two very worthy recipients who have really shown a generation commitment, not only to the Jewish faith, but to the city of New York. And with that, I am proud to present the Generation to Generation Award to Samuel Schwartz and David Schwartz in recognition of your deep dedication to family, community, New York City, and Jewish tradition. JCRC New York 2020 Virtual Winter Benefit, November 18th, 2020, as is written on this beautiful menorah, which is a token of our appreciation. And I wish you both mazel tov, and thank you for all you're doing for the community.
Jeff, thank you so much. It is just so appreciated. If you couldn't tell, I'm kvelling now to have this award with my son David, but also because it is representative of the JCRC, which has done wonderful work for the community, wonderful work for the Jewish community, and a wonderful work to help organize so many different events and activities. So I thank you, JCRC, and I thank everybody who has joined the benefit today.
Jeff, thank you so much. I'm so honored to receive this award with my father. I mean, it is an absolute honor to share this with my dad. I think the JCRC is such an incredible organization that I've enjoyed getting to know. The work that they've done with the Jewish community and other communities to help bridge some of those divides in a world now that's become so divisive. It is so important to have groups like the JCRC to educate others and to help build bridges with others. So I'm so honored to share this award with my father and to be part of such a wonderful and amazing organization. So once again, thank you everyone, and we really appreciate your support.
Thank you, and congratulations again to Sam and David. To present our Bridge to Justice Award to the Admiral, David Robinson, and his business partner at Admiral Capital Group, Daniel Basikis. It's my pleasure to introduce a legend in New York, Justin Tuck. Justin is a private wealth advisor at Goldman Sachs, a former captain and two-time Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. Justin played in the NFL for 11 years. Justin is also an advocate for underprivileged youth and adults and social justice. He co-founded Rush for Literacy. That's a foundation targeting low-income youth. He sits on the board of the Pure Edge Foundation, which is focused on bringing health and wellness to underserved children, and the Vera Institute of Justice, which is dedicated to improving justice systems so they ensure fairness, promote safety, and strengthen communities. So please welcome Justin Tuck and his good friends and our honorees David Robinson and Daniel Basikis.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I probably have the easiest job here tonight. I get the opportunity to introduce and have a brief conversation with two very important people in my life, David Robinson and Daniel Basikis. When I was finding myself jumping from sports world to the business world, corporate America, these two gentlemen took me in and kind of showed me the ropes. Obviously David, his long list of achievements. I'm gonna be a little brief when it comes to that. In 1987, he graduated from the U.S. Navy Academy, and from there jumped right into what was one of the more profound NBA careers to ever be had in the NBA. Playing all of his years with the San Antonio Spurs. The list of achievements from Rookie of the Year, MVP, 10-time NBA All-Star, a part of 3 Olympic teams, including the 1992 Dream Team. Not only did he win 2 championships as a player, but he also transitioned into the ownership of the Spurs, and also has won an additional 2 championships in that role. And what I'm most impressed by with David is what he's done after his sports career. What he's done, since he kind of hung up the sneakers and left the basketball court. In 2001, he and his wife, Valerie, contributed $10 million to start the Carver Academy. Originally, that was a pre-K to 6th grade private faith-based school. Now, given, all of his connections, partnering with the IDEA public schools, Carver is now 26 total schools, serving over 14,000 students in the San Antonio area. He didn't stop there. He co-founded Admiral Capital Group with Dan. And David, I think the most important thing for David, if you talk to him, he's more proud with what the legacy he's led for 3 sons who are incredibly successful as well. So Justin, Corey, and David have followed in their dad's footsteps and become very successful, both in the sports world and in the corporate America world as well. Dan is a graduate of Emory University, got his MBA at Duke. Like me, Dan started his career at Goldman Sachs, spending 3 years in investment banking with a focus on real estate before going over to join David at Admiral Capital Group. Through David and Dan's leadership, Admiral now manages over $1.5 billion in the real estate sector in and around our country. Dan serves on the board of Friends of Carver in San Antonio, helping to support education and programs for low-income students in San Antonio. I've got the opportunity to work with Dan on several things with Admiral Capital. He spent a great deal of time over the past 10 years supporting other professional athletes with their investments, with their charitable work, and helping them kind of maximize their platform for that impact of their work. I know I would not be nowhere near as impactful with the things that me and my wife have tried to do in our philanthropy efforts without the help of David and Dan. Dan is a proud father of 2 daughters, Abby and Caroline. And again, I could go on and on about this group of men right here. You know, David and Dan have been tremendous role models to me, as I've definitely followed in their footsteps from my sports background now to business. You know, they advised me through, you know, leaving the NFL and going to Wharton, leaving Wharton and having internships with them to learn the ins and outs of real estate, and even in my process and going to Goldman as well, I've always confided in David and Dan, and they've never steered me wrong. Now, I've obviously talked too much, so let's bring the two honorees in, David and Dan, and just, you know, a couple of quick questions. You know, from your vantage point, what is it about the JCRC's mission that resonates with both of you?
Thanks, Justin. To me, it's all about uniting communities that really resonated. As someone, my mom was born in Israel, and I've been there about 25 times, and it's a big part of my life. And my grandparents left Poland before the Holocaust and experienced a lot of anti-Semitism and moved to Israel, lost siblings, lost their parents in the Holocaust. And the idea of understanding what the Jews have been through and also understanding what the Black community in the United States has been through, for me, working together with David for the last 18 years to try to tackle some of these challenges, and now working with the JCRC, a Jewish organization focused on uniting communities, definitely resonated with me personally.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the JCRC stands for exactly what Dan and I have tried to do. You know, just break down walls, break down barriers. As great as this country is, there's still a part of our history that's pretty dark in the way that we've kind of treated one another, you know, people who are different and people who come to this country as guests, and so, you know, getting through that and understanding, looking at each other as people and treating one another with the respect as one person to another, I think is critical. And I think the JCRC stands for exactly that, making sure that those barriers, those walls are broken down so that people on both sides of the highway can share.
I'd like to add that, you know, 18 years ago when I first met David and visited the Carver Academy for the first time was kind of my introduction to, you know, the other side of the highway and better understanding what those families were going through. And from that point till today, it's been a passion of mine to help David and help build schools and help tackle those challenges. And again, that's when I heard more about what the JCRC is doing in New York to bridge build similar bridges between the Black and Jewish community. That's what I wanted to be a part of and help support the organization.
I've gotten a chance to go to Dan's daughter's bat mitzvah. They wanted me to play my flute. No, I wasn't going to do that. But just seeing, you know, bringing two cultures together, that it is amazing. I mean, what we've learned about each other. I've gotten a chance to go to Israel since, and it's an amazing part of the world. I think everyone should get a chance to go there and see how it brings people from all over the world together in kind of this tiny little space. But it seems to be almost the center of our history as people. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey together.
Another question for you too, and I know that you do not do this for the accolades. You don't do this for the awards. You don't do it for the recognition. You do it because you know that you're definitely having long-lasting impact on those people that you're involved with. But I know that this organization means a lot to you both, and I know the Bridge to Justice Award, definitely this recognition just makes you feel a certain way. Can you just talk to it a little bit about what you're feeling right now, being recognized for this tonight?
Yeah, I mean, just to start, I would say, yeah, Dan and I started working together because our minds, our hearts are the same, right? We wanted to use this platform. I was a basketball player. obviously financially we did really well. And when basketball stopped, those paychecks stopped coming in. So it's harder to do all the things you want to do in the community. So Dan and I said, hey, let's build a platform that we can continue to tithe into the community, right? Continue to be a blessing to those around us. And who knew that, 13, 14 years ago, we would be able to build this incredible platform. Now we have a team that believes in our mission and believes in the work that we do, not just for our clients, but what we're doing in the communities. Who would have thought that we'd be at this place now? So it's incredible to be able to be a partner with someone who has such a great heart and a great mind. And it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. It just matters that you bond together.
Yeah, and for me, watching David and his passion for building schools and helping families, and it wasn't just a donation. It was actually buying 4 blocks in East San Antonio, building a school, developing the curriculum, dedicating his life to helping other people. When I was introduced to that inspired me. And I went on to Goldman, and where Justin is now, and got a great experience and worked for an amazing firm. But I wanted that work that David was doing to be more a part of my everyday life. And that's why we wanted to build a business together. And this award of, a bridge to justice, which, right, we don't look for awards, and that's not why we do this, but the story of the two of us working together is something I'm very proud of, and the work we're doing. And I think at a time when our country is so divided, to actually talk about our work and our partnership and the kind of the mutual goals that we have. I would have never guessed 18 years ago, a 7'1" basketball player, part-time minister, strong Christian, and a little Jewish guy working together would actually have so much in common and be so passionate about shared values and family and helping others. So this award represents everything we stand for, and that's why I was excited to do this.
I would say, first of all, it's an encouragement to us, and we thank the JCRC for that, because when you're doing work, sometimes you forget, that you actually are having an impact. You're doing something, and so to stop and to take a little bit of an inventory and to be able to receive this award means a tremendous amount to us. It will energize us to keep running twice as fast as we've ever run before. But hopefully it's also an encouragement to everyone out there to know that, that a little bit of persistence and a little bit of focus and a bit of partnership can achieve some amazing things. And so hopefully it does encourage more people to get out there and make a difference in their communities.
And with all that said, it gives me such a great honor to present the Bridge to Justice Award to the Admiral David Robinson and Daniel Bassakis in recognition of their deep dedication in social justice and serving, connecting, and strengthening all of our communities. JCRC New York 2020 Virtual Winter Benefit, November 18th, 2020.
Thank you very much, Justin and JCRC, for this award. It's a great honor to be recognized with my partner, David Robinson, and we're proud to be part of this event. Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you, Justin, and congratulations again, David and Dan. Our next speaker is JCRC's inimitable Executive Vice President and CEO, Michael Miller. He's a man I truly admire and respect, and you may have seen him on my talk show many times, really standing up for what's right. Michael has dedicated his career to the Jewish community and the state of Israel. For more than 36 years, he has been JCRC's leader, and his passion and commitment are unparalleled. All of his friends and fans, and I consider myself both, look forward to paying tribute to him at JCRC's 2021 Gala in late spring. For important acknowledgments, please welcome Michael Miller.
Thanks, Cheryl, so much. And thank you for serving as our event host extraordinaire this evening. We have a little surprise for you. As a small gesture of appreciation for hosting tonight's event, and more importantly, as a symbol of our friendship, we are pleased to present you with this menorah. Thank you. As with the menorahs we presented to our honorees, it was designed by Armenian-American artist Michael Aram. We couldn't think of anything more appropriate than a symbol of this beautiful upcoming holiday season and the festival of Hanukkah, which celebrates freedom, religious freedom. The menorah underscores how much light you, Cheryl, have shined on the city of New York. The inscription reads, "Presented to Cheryl Wills, in recognition of your friendship and dedication to diverse communities and New York City. JCRC-NY 2020 Virtual Winter Benefit Reception, November 18th, 2020. Thank you so much again, Cheryl." Thank you. I also want to express my personal gratitude to our honorees, the Admiral, David Robinson and Daniel Basikis, as well as Sam and David Schwartz, and their presenters, Justin Tuck and Jeff Levine. Also, our incomparable president, Cheryl Fishbein, our dedicated officers and board of directors, our benefit chairs, vice chairs, and co-chairs, all of our sponsors and guests, and our staff, consultants, and volunteers. As with all of our activities, this event is truly a team effort with all JCRC-NY staff playing an important role. That team is led by our exceptional Chief Development Officer, Mark Wolf, our tireless Director of Special Projects, Marcy Fishman, and our consultants at Growth for Good. Thank you all. Cheryl, back to you.
Wow, Michael, thank you so much. I am truly grateful for this beautiful and meaningful gift. And I got to tell you, I really look forward to displaying it in my home this holiday season and passing it down to my children and grandchildren. Thank you again. Now, before giving you all the opportunity to interact with our honorees, we have a very special music video to share that epitomizes JCRC's mission of uniting communities. So please enjoy this performance of James Taylor's classic song, Shed a Little Light, in tribute to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it's by two a cappella groups, one Jewish, one Black, the Maccabees and Naturally Seven. Bravo, bravo. That was truly amazing and inspirational and the perfect conclusion to this evening's formal program. We are so grateful to James Taylor, Naturally Seven, and the Maccabees for granting us permission to share this music video with our guests. On behalf of JCRC, thank you to tonight's honorees, program participants, and all the sponsors for helping to ensure that this essential organization can continue to fulfill its mission of uniting and securing communities. You're now all welcome to return to the event dashboard and select a Zoom reception to enter and personally toast and chat with our honorees, the Admiral David Robinson, Daniel Basikis, and Sam and David Schwartz. Stay safe and enjoy.